All right. Okay. Good morning, guys. Can you all hear me and see your screen? Yes. Yeah. Right. Okay. Perfect. Can you hear me? Can see your screen? Okay. So nice to see all of you all again once again in the morning. I think again, as always, there's a huge drop from the first class to the second class. Okay. So today will be the second session, right? The second session for unit number 8, public economy. So we started off with the MCQs last class. For those who might not remember, right? Or maybe there might be a few people joining newly. So what we do is we do MCQs from 2011 to 2020, and then we do the essay questions and we do that. Okay, and also one more thing, guys. I've been getting a lot of questions on that the model paper book, I think, which I told you all about. Target model paper book already 100 plus have ordered that book, right? Guys, I'm just repeating once again, it's not something that I am getting the money for. It's not something that I am doing everything for. So your slip and everything, when you all pay, you all need to upload it in that form. There is no point sending it to me because I'm not going to upload the form for you, right? Once you all have made, I remember in the but whatever that there was a message with all the payment details to pay that 600 rupees for that model paper book. I would have shared that on beyond the classroom also, right, in all 3 groups. So in that you all can pay either through a bank or there is a online payment method also, and after you all pay, you all need to upload the slip into, there is a Google form in that message itself at the very end. So the order link, it's a pre-order link, guys. We are collecting pre-orders, right? And then according to the this thing will print and we will be sending it within 1.5 to 2 weeks, right? So that is the plan, right? So it will take around 1.5 to 2 weeks to get your book. Okay, I've been getting that question like a lot of times, right? That's why I think that order link clearly said it was a pre-order link, right? So you order beforehand and then you will get it in 1.5 to 2 weeks, because we are not going to print 1 or 2, we're going to print in bulk in total. So once a certain number of orders are collected at the end of the week, that is when we will be printing, and that is when we'll be sending it off. Okay, that's about that one. And also anything regarding that, guys, you will have some, there is some contact numbers in that message itself. You can contact those people and clarify any doubts that you all have, because I keep getting around 100 messages and sometimes I also don't know 100% of what exactly is happening, right? And I don't have the time to reply to all of those texts also. Okay, that's about that. And also one more small thing on the this thing, I don't know how many of you all would have maybe dropped me a text about the this case, or instance, you all need to make the payment. Guys, your order will not be confirmed if you have not made that 600 payment. If you have just filled the form, your order will simply be cancelled in that thing, right? You all need to make the 600 payment either through that online portal, or you can transfer it to the account or go to the bank and deposit. That is up to you all, right? And then you all need to fill in that Google form. Only then your order is placed. So then once the book comes in, we will be sending it to you all. Okay, and one more thing, on there's been a lot of people asking me about the fast track mock exam also, or the fast track, the mock exam series. I actually have few more slots. I'm not going to encourage much more students. Actually, I limited to 100 people, but this time there's a little bit more than 100 people, so I had to I have ordered the tute place to print 10 more tutes. So I'm gonna look at maximum around 10 more students only, because one is I don't have a Zoom account that can accommodate more than 100 people. So if all 100 tend to come, then there is going to be a problem. But with general things, I know that 100 won't come. I usually know my people, how they show up to class. That's a different story. But on my end, it's not fair if even one person is not able to make it after making the payment. So I'm not going to exceed the amount by a lot, right? So maximum I will keep it to 110 people. There's already around 104 or 105 who have registered. So meaning there's around maximum 5-6 slots remaining. If anyone is interested, I think I would have told my past track students like a long time ago to work on that. So I get a lot of messages also, guys, if I pay today, can I get it tomorrow? That, right? So it's starting today, right? It's starting tonight. Usually classes are from Saturday 7 to 10 and Tuesday 7 to 10, but today it will be at night from 8:30 to 11:30. And I wanted to give the first class as a free trial as well. But the problem I have is the moment I give it as a free trial, will I exceed the 100 participant limit, right? Because if I put the link on the Beyond the Classroom and give it as a free trial, if there is more than 100, because I don't have an account tonight that can accommodate more than 100. So I thought of giving the entire mock 1 as a free trial so anyone can come and try it. It's a good paper, right? A proper paper, right? And definitely much more harder than your A-level paper as well. We'll see if I can find a bigger account, right? I'll open it to everyone from the Beyond the Classroom also mock 1, right? Just for you all to come and learn something. There's 8 mocks in total. I'm not sure, I can't guarantee that because I don't have a proper Zoom account, right? So again, once again, I'm repeating, we maximum have around 5 or 6 more slots. So if you're looking at registering, right, I think today or tomorrow would be the ideal day, right? I am not accepting unless I can find a better Zoom account. That's that, right? Okay, so that's all about the small things. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? The free trial might happen today, might not happen today. I won't promise you. It depends on whether I can find a Zoom account, right? So because already there is around 100 plus who have registered. I usually know not everyone is going to come, but still I will not take more than that, because in case everyone tends to show up, even if one person is not able to make his live class, then that's my fault. Right. Any other questions, guys? If we get into this, no? I'm hoping I'll not get any question in the middle then. Okay, right. So we'll start off with from where we stopped. Okay, unit number 8, public economic. Right now, I think we've done a few questions. We went through the 2011 paper, right? We went through 2011. We went through 2012. We did 2013, done, right? We went through 14 and then we went through 15 towards the end as well. Okay, so we have done with 5 papers, and then what we need to do is we need to start off with the 2016 A-level MCQ paper. So it's actually a very easy question, because I went through the questions also yesterday. I did paste a few things from here and there from the central bank report and all of it, and realizing how easy the questions was, and then I was thinking that the effort I put in to make all these fast track papers, I try to make it as hard as possible. And in the past paper you have like very direct, very easy questions. What is this percentage, what is this going to happen, maybe reading a graph, and that is the type of questions that you will see in a past paper. Okay, trust me guys, it is very easy. And small reminder for the people who have registered for the mock exam series, I want you all to do the MCQ paper 1 today. That is what we will be discussing, the mock exam 1, MCQ paper 1. So do that and come. I think I'll form on the group as well. Okay, right. So we'll start 2016. Question number 33, because I'm guessing that you all would have done the questions. Okay, yes, completed all until 2020. No, all the MCQs completely done. Yes, no, just came here. My friend is here, I'm also coming. No, right. And also one more thing, guys. And finally, all your recordings are there on YouTube, right? So once I don't get that message asking, but I still get that message sometimes, right? It just pisses me off so bad, right? Like, yeah, in unit number 8, now you all know the live class is unit number 8, and then there are some jokers who are in the Beyond the Classroom group who text me saying, sir, only 7 units are there on YouTube, so where are the other 4 units, right? I just get so pissed, but I just hold my just be patient with them, right? They are in the group, they don't even show up in class, they have no idea what on earth is happening, right? And they still have that audacity to drop me a text asking, where is this recording, where is that record, right? Knowing in unit number 8, what earth am I to put unit number 9 and 10 and 11? That's the level of commitment some people have. Never mind. Okay, so 2016, unit number 33. Guys, give me answers. The more answers we get, the more I know that you all know the thing, and I can go much more faster. Okay, right. So 33, a good that exhibits neither rivalry nor excludability in consumption cannot be a what? Pure private, pure public, inferior, quasi public, and global public. So they're asking you a good that cannot have, right? It can't be rival also, right? It, sorry, that exhibits neither rival. So that it has to be a good with rivalry, or else it has to be a good with excludability, right? So they're looking at not guys, it needs to have both the features here. Look how tricky this question, how they have worded this question, right? They said a good that exhibits neither rivalry no excludability. That means no rivalry, no excludability. So usually a good without no rivalry and no excludability is a pure public. But they are saying cannot be a, right? See, they're not asking you a good that has neither rivalry or this thing. You need to focus on this word here. There is a cannot here, right? You know, the moment you see non-rival, non-excludable, Kelima, you know, you go put pure public good. But they're not asking for a pure public good. They're asking you, right, a good that does it have any of these characteristics. It can't be non-rival, it can't be non-excludable also. So which among these 5 goods, right, does not have any of these characteristics? A pure private, a pure public, inferior, quasi-public, global public. Which one? Doesn't have any of these characteristics. So it has to be answer number. It has to be answer number 1, right? That has to be a pure private good. So a pure private good, right? You all know, if you take private goods, okay, if you take a private good, it is excludable, right? And also rival. So it's rival and it's excludable. So it doesn't have any of these features, right? So it doesn't have any of the features. So therefore, that becomes the answer. Okay, there are questions on this thing, guys. Inferior good, there is no condition like that, guys. Inferior good, it can even be a private good. Usually, it's a you can call it a private good, but then there can inferior good. There can be quasi-public inferior goods. There can be what? Let's say public inferior goods, right? So that can differ, guys. You can't really say whether inferior good has these characteristics. So when you're usually classifying goods based on rivalry and excludability, there's only 4 types. Just because they give you some new name here saying inferior good or given good, don't get confused with that, right? Because you don't classify whether a good is inferior or a normal good or something based on these excludability and rivalry features. So based on excludability and rivalry, there are 4 types. That's private goods, public goods, quasi-public, and what is the other? Quasi-public means semi-public. What is the other? The 4th one, which I missed. Common resources, right? So those are the 4 types. So apart from those 4, guys, you don't have anything else. Just because they give you a option to drive you off, don't get confused with those. Okay. So questions on there were these, right? What is a global public good? What is a quasi-public good? Guys, a quasi-public good is what you call a semi-public good, right? So what are these semi-public goods, guys? What are the features do you all think these have? Semi-public goods. Okay, give me an example for a semi-public good first. Example. What can we say? We can say a museum, right? A museum. We can give a highway, right? We can give parks, right? So we can do things like that. Now, are they rival? Okay, are they excludable? Yes or no? Can you stop people from coming to this? You can, right? If they don't pay, you can stop them from coming. If the person does not buy the, the ticket at the beginning, he can't go in the highway. So it is excludable. If the person doesn't buy the ticket for the museum, he can't go in. So it's excludable, right? You can stop the person from coming if the person doesn't pay any money. Then rival, is it rivalry? You usually call it non-rival, But again, it's non-rival until it reaches full capacity, right? In general, you can call it non-rival because until it reaches its full capacity, in the sense, now, usually if you look at a highway, one additional person going is not going to harm anyone, right? Right? So there's not going to be rivalry. Just because one additional person comes to the highway doesn't mean I can't go in the highway. So usually it's non-rival. But if it reaches full capacity, right? Now let's say the highway is packed with vehicles, then there can be a situation where, one person who comes in might not be able to get in because someone else has got in. Now, even a museum, right? You can go, right? But if it is that packed, then one person who comes in can be a problem. So usually say non-rival until it reaches maximum capacity. OL. In general, it's capacity, right? Generally, it's non-rival, but the moment it reaches maximum capacity, it can be rival. But the feature, the condition, you say it's non-rival. Well, that's a semi-public good. Then what are global public goods, guys? Is the private good? I'll just have that. Oops. Okay. What is a global public good? What's a global public good? What is this? Exactly, guys. A global public good, again, it's a public good, right? That's that public good word is there, right? So that is where, everyone around the world, right? So people all around the world, right? All around the world benefit. Okay, now for example, okay, now these kind of things, again, this is also non-rival, non-excludable, right? Non-rival, non-excludable. So examples that you can give, what can you give as examples, guys? Exactly, world peace, world peace, knowledge, right? You can give knowledge, then you can even talk about the ozone layer, right? Human rights, right? So now these kind of things, now if you just think of the ozone layer, right? So that is also a public good. Okay, there is no rivalry, just because I'm hoping you all know that the ozone layer protects us from all these harmful, I don't know what you call it, ultraviolet rays. I remember we studied in science, right? Okay, so whatever said and done, okay, now those type, the ozone layer, the whole thing there, right? It's non-rival. Just because I'm getting protected does not mean you're getting less protection, right? And non-excludable. No one can ask you to pay money for that, right? And just because just because you don't pay, they can't get you, right? This is ultraviolet, right? UV rays, no? Yeah, not virus, violet. Not mistaken. That's how I think. I don't know. I don't remember my science much, but it's UV rays that we call it. Okay. Yeah, violet. Yeah. Okay, right. So those kind of things, right? Now, those kind of things are where the benefit is received by the entire world, right? Everyone receives the benefit. Now, even if you look at world peace, right? Again, everyone benefits there from it, right? When you don't have wars and everything. So those are called global public goods. That's also another type of a public good, where the difference is the word global means that the entire world is getting benefited, right? So those kind of things you can put in as examples. Then there was another question on what is a merit good, right? I think I touched a bit on what merit goods are, guys. Guys, usually these pure private goods are what is divided into merit and demerit, right? So you take a pure private good, okay, it's divided into, remember, private goods, excludable, and rival. Okay, so these pure private goods, they're divided into merit goods. Guys, what is merit and what is demerit? What is the basic definition of merit and demerit? Merit goods and demerit goods. What's the basic thing? Merit goods. Okay, this thing is here than this thing, but in very simple terms, this one, guys, it gives a positive externality in consumption, right? Positive externality in consumption. A demerit good, right, is a good that gives you a negative externality in consumption. So based on that, yes, social benefit greater than private benefit, all of that you all can talk, but in defining, I'll not go there about social benefit, this benefit and everything. I think we spoke of, yes, I think we came across those benefit parts last class, no? I said this is greater than this in this, this is greater than this in this. Yes, did I come across? I'm hoping you all do remember. Okay, right. So that is things, guys. So remember, pure private goods are what is divided into merit and demerit. Okay, so I'm hoping this, just go and check your whatever note that you all study, it should be given that way, right? Under private goods only, you all will have merit goods and demerit goods. Because now remember your whole story there at the very beginning of unit number 8, you're finding reasons for market failure, right? You're learning at reasons for market failure. One reason is where public goods are not provided by the government. So then you learn what is a public good. You say, you know, an unrivaled nothing. But why is private goods given as a reason there? Why is private goods given as a reason for market failure? It's not because private goods lead to market failure. It's because under private goods, you have these merit and demerit, right? Those lead to externalities, that leads to market failure. That is why that part is there in that, under that part. In general, private goods are not any goods that lead to market failure, but other ones, common resources, even quasi-public goods, are underproduced, sometimes, you know, exploited, right? So therefore they can lead to market failure. But a private good alone does not lead to market failure. It's because that externality part that comes in, right? The merit or the demerit thing, there it becomes underproduced and overproduced. That is where it leads to market failure. Just is when you're looking at, you know, a note or something, look at the broader picture, right? Whatever note that you're studying at, okay, divide it into sections. Okay, you need to know how this connects. Okay, this is one part of this unit. So if you take unit number 8, whatever note that you're studying, the first section of it should have talk about market failure, right? Reasons for market failure, that, and then how the government comes in and how the government also fails. That's the first part of that unit. The second part of the unit is all about the fiscal policy, right? How does the government collect their taxes, the sources of taxes, then the, you know, government expenditure, and then once you realize that the expenditure is much more than the income, then we talk about government borrowing, right? Consequences of borrowing, where they can finance that deficit, right? That's the other part of the unit. So mainly there are two parts of that unit, if you all have realized. So when you are studying, also focus on that. You need to have that broader picture. Just reading your note and, you know, I don't know, memorizing things is not going to help you. Okay, so keep those in mind. Okay, so that is this. I'm hoping we're fine with 33. Question number 33, answer is number 1, right? A good that exhibits neither rivalry nor excludability in consumption cannot be a, right? So it cannot be a pure private good. Done. And then we'll get into the next question. Okay, that is this. Again, a very easy question, guys. So when a regressive income tax is in operation, the poor pay. What happens? A regressive tax. What can you say? A lower percentage of their income than the rich, a larger rupee amount in tax than the rich, a tax that varies proportionately with their income level, a smaller rupee amount in taxes than the rich, a higher percentage of their income in taxes than the rich. Which one, guys? Because remember, when you're talking about progressive, regressive, and proportionate, don't talk about the rupee amount, because the rupee amount can be the same. Okay, that just because the rupee amount is the same doesn't make it a proportional, or if the rupee amount is greater doesn't make it a progressive or thing like that, right? You always look at percentages. Don't look at the absolute value of the tax, right? How much is this percentage? Look as a percentage of his income, right? So percentage, or in other words, proportion of his income. That is how you're going to look at. Now, for example, okay, if you take, let's say, okay, this, okay, hold on. Okay, so let's say there is a poor household, right? So there is a household, their income is, let's say, just 25,000, but they're earning only 25,000, and they're paying, let's say, a tax of 2,500. How much as a percentage are they paying a tax? The income is 25,000 a month. They're paying 2,500 of tax. As a proportion, how many percent are they paying as a tax here, guys? Basic tax. How many percent? They're paying a 10% tax, right? So That is there is. Now you can have a rich household. Look at this, right? You can have a rich household who is earning 100,000, right? They're earning 100,000. They are also paying, let's say, a 2,500 tax, right? How much is this as a percentage? How much is this? 2.5% of 100,000. Anything of 100, guys, is 2.5. Not 2.5, it's that number itself. Okay. So if you look at it, right, now this is a regressive tax, guys. Right? If you all don't realize this person is paying, the poor person is paying 10% of his income, but the rich person is paying only 2.5% of his income. Right? So the poor person is paying a much higher percentage. Now, it does not mean now see, this is the absolute value, guys. This is the rupee value. You're not comparing the rupee value. Don't compare the rupee value, right? Or in other words, you can call it the absolute value of the tax. Don't compare this. You always compare the percentage. That is what I'm trying to prove over here, right? Because this rupee value can change. Now, for example, now in this case, the rupee value is the same. Right? The rupee value is the same. It's a regressive tax. Now, for example, you can have this, right? You can have, let's say this guy pays 2,000 of a tax, right? So he's paying a lesser rupee value, then this is going to be 8%, right? Still, it's a regressive tax, right? So even if he pays a lesser rupee value, still regressive. Even if he pays the equal rupee value to 5, it was regressive, right? Now, let's say he's paying a much more percentage than this guy. So let's say he's paying 2,000. Let's say he's paying 3,000. Then also it can be regressive. So you don't define whether a tax is regressive, progressive, or proportionate based on that rupee value, guys. Don't do that mistake, right? So don't say where the poor pay, let's say, what? Let's say a larger rupee amount of tax. It's not that they pay a larger rupee amount of tax, right? It's that they pay a higher percentage compared to these people. So from their income, a greater percentage is tax. But the rich guy is not that affected. So what can we give as examples for regressive taxes, guys? What examples do we have? Examples we can give, right? Usually, guys, you can give excise duties. Okay, so how does this excise duties become regressive, guys? What is the connection there, right? So I'll show you this. Why is excise duty is regressive? Now, if you excise duties or excise tax, right? So if you take now excise duties, okay, guys, excise duties or excise taxes, right? What are they imposed on what type of goods? Can you give me examples of what and what are they imposed on? Usually good that gives like a negative externality, right? Things like alcohol, things like cigarette, yes, sometimes on petroleum also, right? So they put in goods like that. Now, if you look at it, right? So if you look at it on vehicles, it's mainly import duties, but yes, I think you have a part of excise also. I'm not 100% sure, but mainly it's import duties. Okay. So if you look at these excise duties, guys, why is it regressive is this? Now, let's say, right now, it's imposed, usually, guys, taxes imposed on goods, you can call them somewhat regressive also, right? Why? Is now, let's say, okay, there is a rich household. Okay, let's say there's a poor household. Let's say this 25. Okay, let's say for a bottle of alcohol, right? For some bottle of alcohol, let's say they are imposing a 2,500 tax, right? So if you buy the bottle of alcohol, you have to pay a tax of 2,500. Now, for the poor guy, right? Look at this. For the poor person, if he buys that bottle of alcohol, it's 10% of his income because he's earning only 25,000. The excise duty he pays is 10% of his income. But if the rich person, right, that person buys this bottle of alcohol, for him, that is only 2.5% of his income. So that is why we call this regressive. Now, even if you take now, for example, even sales tax, right? Now, it's arguable on which where you can exactly put whether it's a proportional or whether it's a regressive sometimes, right? But usually sales tax, excise duties and stuff like that, we can call those regressive taxes because why? They pay the the absolute amount they pay is the same. Whether a rich guy buy it or whether a poor guy buys it, they pay the same amount. So as a result, the percentage the poor person pays is high. The percentage the the richer person pays is much low. And so you all need to have that broader understanding. It's not sales income, sales tax. Right? Okay, so that's regressive. So which one is the answer now? Regressive tax is an operation where the poor pay what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Is the in very basic sense, regressive tax is where the poor pay a higher percentage, guys. They pay a higher percentage than the rich. Can you see? Okay, the poor person is paying 10%, the rich person is only paying 2.5%. You can't say that the poor person is paying a larger rupee amount. Remember, don't go with that rupee amount. Always go with the percentage. Another way of wording that, they will say proportion, right? Larger proportion. Proportion means again a percentage. So they might say proportion, they might say percentage. Go with that, not the rupee value or the absolute value. That's 34. Then moving on to the next one. Okay, this is the easy one. The marginal social cost of allowing one more individual to use a pure public good is negative, 0, positive, infinite, and increasing with the number of users. What is marginal? Marginal means the additional, right? So they're asking you, what is the additional cost of one more person? This is 2016 paper, right? They're asking you, what is the additional cost of one person consuming or allowing one more person to, let's say, use a pure public good. Let's say, for example, we'll take a clock tower, right? So just because one additional person looks at the clock, right? How much is the additional cost? What is the additional cost? One more person. Oh, let's say street light, right? So let's say there were 4 houses in your lane, right? Now the 5th house has come. Now, just because that 5th person is getting street light, what is the marginal cost or the additional cost? It's 0, right? There is no cost there. So that is why we say this is a Z. So the marginal social cost, right? The cost to the society, that's private cost and external cost, right? So the marginal social cost of allowing one more individual, right? Of getting one more person is a 0, right? If you all understand the logic behind it, this is almost nothing, right? These questions are not at all hard. These are very, very basics of questions that you'll ever find. Okay, that's 35. Then we'll get into 36. Again, a very easy question, right? So I think we have done a question like this. The table below shows the marginal private and external benefits and the marginal private and external cost of a product produced at free market equilibrium level of output, right? So they've given you private benefit, they've given you external benefit, they've given you private cost, they've given you external cost, right? So the government intervention in this market could improve the efficiency of allocation of resources because the good is. Okay, what is the good here, guys? Okay, first of all, how are you going to decide what good this is? Okay, take the marginal private benefit. Is marginal private benefit and the marginal external benefit, right? From this, what can you say? What can you come to a conclusion here? Okay, marginal social benefit, fine, right? So marginal private benefit, they've said it's 36, right? So now let's say one person consumes this good, he gets a benefit of 36. Someone else, right, who is outside gets a benefit of 18. So how much is the social benefit there, guys? Marginal social benefit. It's a 54, right? So what are they indirectly saying here, guys? Think private, when a good has been consumed, right? The private person gets a benefit of 36. The external party gets a benefit of 18. In total, the society gets a benefit of 54. Is it a positive externality or a negative externality? What does it give you? Positive externality where? Consumption or production? Consumption or production? Because remember, we're talking about the benefit curves here, right? So remember, it's when you talk about benefits, we're talking about consumption, right? So what type of good gives you a positive externality in consumption? What type of a good? It's a exactly very good. You have your answer already, right? So now you'll wonder then sir, why didn't you look at the cost side of it? Yes, look at the cost side of it, right? If you look at the cost side of it, there is no external cost. So now if you look at it, the marginal, right, marginal private cost plus the marginal external cost is equal to the marginal social cost, right? That is how your equation works. So if you look at this, right, the private cost is 24, the external cost is 0, right? And then the social cost is still a 24, right? So social cost is also a 24. So what does that mean? That means there is no externality, right? It's directly given that the externality is 0. So this is, remember guys, when you all talk about, when you all draw the diagrams, right, marginal private cost equals marginal social cost. When you draw your positive externality in consumption diagram, you draw just one cost curve, right? Remember? No? Can't remember the diagram? In your entire diagram, right, that you all draw, okay, there is 2 benefit curves, right? But one cost curve. This is the marginal, right? The supply and this thing. So this is the marginal social benefit. This is the marginal private benefit, right? And this is the marginal social cost equals marginal private cost, guys. As long as you know your diagram, this is a very simple question, guys. There is no rocket science in this. Okay, so one person did not get the part. I think if you're not getting the part, I think you're not knowing what these concepts are, what the equation is. Check your note, right? It's directly there in whatever note that is there, guys. Okay, this externality and everything. So in very simple terms, guys, what type of good are they talking about here? What is the answer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a very nice. These are, it might look like, it might look very hard, right? They give you some numbers and they give you this and that. But if what you don't realize is they are testing a very simple area. They're just testing if you know what a positive externality is, where the marginal private benefit is lesser than the external benefit. There is a higher external benefit, guys. It's a positive externality in consumption. So positive externality in consumption is through a merit good, right? Not a demerit, not an inferior, not a global public, and not a public good. Yes, can figure that out? No? Are we lost? Anyone questions? I've got comparatively lesser answers, guys. Don't get scared when you put a table there. They're just talking about a very basic area. Right? It's all about let's see. Fine, clear? Okay. Okay, if you're clear, then I'll move on. Is on your end, right? Now on externalities, I'll just tell you. Okay, so first of all, right, is the curve exchanged? Curve exchange in the sense, have I drawn the curve wrong? Social benefit is greater than the private benefit. Social cost is equal to the private cost. No, the curve is the correct one. Exchange, I'm not very sure what exchange there means. Okay, no. Okay, so on your end, guys, know the 4 externalities, right? A positive externality in consumption, a negative externality in consumption, a positive externality in production, and a negative externality in production, right? So know those 4, know what it means, know examples for it, know the diagram that is relevant to it, and figure out whether these are underproduced, overproduced, the price charge, whether it's high or low, right? And then think of what can the government do, right? So usually if it's something like underproduced, government can give subsidies, government can encourage production, they can give tax incentives to increase the production. If it is overproduced, then the government will charge a tax to reduce the thing. Government will do different stuff like that. Okay, what do you think about A levels? Will it get postponed by any chance? I doubt, right? I also had a conversation with one of my teachers also. This thing what he also said is they're not going to postpone it too much, right? So maximum, if they postpone, it will be like 1 or 2 weeks, right? That is the maximum you will get this thing, but they're trying their level best to get things done, because what happens is if they postpone it's not like O levels. If you postpone A levels, entire, there's a university batch that will get delayed. There's a lot of things that get delayed little by little by little by little, right? So as far as I know, they will move unless Corona gets really, really bad, right? But I'm hoping, I'm guessing now they've started to vaccinate the people over 20 also now, right? So they've started to vaccinate people over 20 now, little by little. The school students will also start getting vaccinated maybe in a month or two, right? And then eventually, I think we should be able to get A levels done somewhere in November, right? Let's hope and pray that it doesn't get postponed. Because if you're with the, if you right now, if you're with the mentality that if it gets postponed, it's good, that means you're not ready. That means you had a bad level, right? If that is your case, I think you need to, but I don't know, pull up your sock and get your game right. Okay, so for those people who really want to get it done and dusted, you're at some good level because you have some sort of confidence because you need to get it. Teacher strike is continuing, I do understand, but that will come to an end eventually. It will not go that long. Okay, so when this comes, the government will do something and they will do the thing off, and it will not be a problem, right? They might say that they couldn't cover syllabus and all of it, but if you look at it, even last year it was the same story, right? Last year there was no online learning or anything, right? Even last year when Corona came, right, from March onwards, there was no school, right? Teachers were not teaching, right? The online learning maximum 1 month or 2 months would have happened towards the end. Even with that, they still did A-levels, right? No one went and complained saying there is what the syllabus was not completed and stuff like that. And so here also, just because there's a teacher strike, it's not good. They're not going to look at because the teacher didn't teach me, I couldn't finish the syllabus, right? So people will somehow get the syllabus covered on their end. So that's not really a valid excuse on people's end, because come on, you all also know your normal thing, right? Whether you go to school or whether you not go to school, right? You at least go to a class, you at least, you at least will refer to whatever note that you have and you will get your thing done. The teacher strike doesn't affect you that much that you don't know anything about the syllabus because the teacher didn't teach you. That's reality, right? So we'll hope and pray that it happens in November. And I think if it happens in November, my mock exam series is paced very well, and I think it's right on track. I'm just, the only negative feel I might have is if this thing goes on, the momentum goes a little down, but we'll hope not. Right, so that's 36 guys. Again, that's this. Should you get vaccinated for the exam? I don't know. That the government would come up with a rule. I don't know how it happens. So if they say that you need to get vaccinated to go to the exam, then yes, but I don't think, right? Because you can't have both vaccines that comes, because if you're getting it in, if you're doing exams in November, right? That means you need to get your first vaccine by the start of October, and then maybe the next vaccine by the start of somewhere around November, right? Somewhere around, let's say we're getting Sinopharm or something, it's like a 4-week period. So will they really do that within those 4 weeks to get both the doses is a question. At least one dose you all might get, which I feel. Okay, right. From 37. Which of the following methods of financing the budget deficit can increase aggregate demand by the greatest amount? Yes, if you look at financing budget deficit, right? I'm hoping you all know that entire flow chart that is there in whatever note that you all would have been studying, right? So there is domestic sources, there is foreign sources. Under domestic, you have market and non-market, right? Because I'm not going to draw the diagram, but okay, you have market and non-market. Under then, if you take market, you have commercial bank, central bank, right? Under, sorry, under market, you have banking, then you have commercial and central, then you have non-market, you have non-bank, things like EPF, ETF, insurance companies, right? Loans from them. So likewise, I'm guessing you all do have a what entire table, not a table, like a flow chart like that in your whatever note that you're studying. So in whatever note that you're studying, right? Where do you have inflation? Which of these sources create inflationary pressures? When you borrow from where? So inflation pressure in the sense where aggregate demand increases, money supply increases, therefore aggregate demand increases, therefore there is inflation. When you borrow from where do you have inflation and all of those pressures, guys? So when you usually borrow from the banking sector, right? Or if you go and borrow from foreign sources, right? Even if you take a foreign loan, then also the same story. Okay, so that is where it comes, right? Now if you look at it, so either you borrow from the commercial bank or either the central bank, or even in your diagram somewhere around here, you borrow from the what? Even foreign sector, there will be an increase in money supply. Guys, remember, it's money supply that is increasing, right? When you borrow from these sectors. So when money supply increases, what happens? Then the aggregate demand increases. People start to buy a lot of goods and services. Aggregate demand increasing leads to demand pull inflation. Therefore, you can say these are inflationary sources, leads to inflation. So from these, right, if you look at it, which of the following, they're asking you, which of the following methods of financing a budget deficit can increase aggregate demand by the greatest amount, right? So usually these three, right? Borrowing from the central bank, borrowing from the commercial bank, or in other words, borrowing from the banking sector, or borrowing from the foreign sector can lead to an increase in aggregate demand. But which of these will lead to a greater one? Borrowing from selling bonds to foreigners, selling bonds to central banks, selling bonds to commercial banks. So we can cut off the last two answers because those are not inflationary creating ones. So from these three, guys, these are all inflationary, right? From these three, which one is the greater one? They're asking you, can increase by the greatest amount. All three will actually increase, guys. But which one increases by the greatest amount? Foreigners, central bank, commercial bank. Which one? Okay. Because in my opinion, I think it's the central bank, right? Why it's the central bank is because when you borrow from the central bank, there is new high-powered money that is released in the economy. Remember, the central bank can print money and put out. Yes, can someone recheck and let me know the answer? I'm guessing it's 2. Yes. Hoping they did not think of a different angle in the paper. Past paper book says 2. Yeah, okay, right. So why is it the central bank? To back up the thing, right? It's because when you borrow from the central bank is able to print money. Remember, when can the central bank print money? When they can acquire an asset. So if the government is borrowing from them, if the central bank is giving a loan to them, that means central bank is acquiring an asset, meaning central bank can print money. There's new high-powered money released into the economy in this situation, right? So that is much more inflationary than the others, right? So what now? Commercial banks and stuff, there is no new money that is printed. It's the excess reserve that goes, and then yes, it gets deposit multiplied. Yes, it's inflation. Now foreigners also, you can't argue whether all of the currency will come into the Sri Lankan economy. It can be stuck in reserves also, some amount of money. But if you borrow from the central bank, then there is a lot of high powered money that comes out. Remember, guys, on your end, 1, 2, 3, all of those are inflationary. All of those causes increase in money supply, leading to an increase in aggregate demand that leads to inflation. So all three, yes. But your question is not what causes, but increase in aggregate demand. It's asking you which of these causes the greatest increase. So from the three of those, the better answer is number 2. Why? You can argue saying there's new high-powered money that is being printed and that is being put up. That is much more inflationary than the other 2. Okay. That is why we'll go with answer number 2. Okay, for 37. I think apart from this question would have been a little tricky, but apart from that question, I don't think any other question in this paper was an issue at all. Okay, all the questions done. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 5. Yes. After central bank, I would say commercial bank would be the greatest, and then I can say foreign. No, it can be argued. You can say foreign is the next, and then commercial banks are third also. It depends, right? Okay, so 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, no, at least 4 or 5. Okay, so we'll get into 2017 then, because this is the 2017 A-level paper. Okay, basic stuff. I don't think you'll get a question as easy as this. Lucky me, no, to get a question in my A-level paper. Okay, example of a pure public good. Yes, come on. I'm looking for answers from everyone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Health Service, National Museum, National Defense, Rail Transport. This should be directly there in whatever note that you study. Which one, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. whatever note, whoever is teaching you, if they have not given this an example, then there's a problem, right? So example of a pure public good, guys, the best example that you can give is the third one, guys. It's national defense, right? Because if you look at national defense, that is the police, army, and all of it, right? It's non-excludable, right? Just because you don't pay taxes doesn't mean the army will stop protecting you, right? And also it's non-rival. Just because I get protected by the army doesn't mean you get less protection, or I get protected by the police doesn't mean you get less protection. So national defense is the best answer that you can give it, right? Now, if you look at the other answers, guys, now rail transport obviously is excludable, right? You don't buy the ticket, they might not let you go. Now you can go in the thing, right? You can, without buying a ticket, you can try to jump and go in. That's a different story. But legally, if you don't buy the ticket, you can't get in, right? That's yeah. Then again, if you take education, right? Education is definitely excludable, it's definitely rival. Now look at if you look at my mock exam series, if you don't pay, I don't take you into the class, right? Simple as that. If you have not registered, if you have not paid, I can exclude you. And also it's rival. Now my Zoom account has only 100 people. Sometimes if there is more than that, then there can be some sort of rivalry also. Even health service, the same thing, guys. Even though you have, just because there is free health service, doesn't mean it's non-rival and non-excludable, right? So you can exclude people from getting it. Okay, transport also same story. Museum also the same story, right? So usually if you look at rail transport, right? Rail transport and museum, those two you can take it as quasi-public goods, right? Until a certain amount, it's this thing excludable. But health service and education, you can take it as merit goods, right? Comes under private goods. National defense is the one that is the pure public good. It's a very simple example, guys. It's a very simple thing. It's a very common example also, which we talk about. Whoever who teaches you pure public good would have taught you national defense. Okay, that's 2017. Okay, then this diagram. Okay, it's reading these diagrams. These are very simple diagrams, right? Even though you all realize this is a diagram that I drew in the previous paper, if you all have not realized it. Okay, so given in this diagram, as marginal private benefit and marginal social, okay, the marginal private benefit MPB and the marginal social benefit MSB curves and the market supply curve for a particular good. Okay, so in the absence of government intervention in this market, misallocation of resources is likely to occur because of what? Okay, shall we read this? How do you read this? In this case, right, how do you read the diagram, guys? Okay, if I mark 2 points, I'll mark 1 point in green, I'll mark 1 point in pink. Where is the free market equilibrium? The green or the pink? I don't know if you'll see that red, but okay, which one? Free market equilibrium, where the economy actually produces. Where do they actually produce, guys? In a market economy, remember, they don't take into consideration externalities. So they produce where the marginal private benefit is equal to the marginal private cost. That is where they produce. So they are actually producing at this point, right? They're charging a price of P1 and they are producing a quantity of H. Where is the social optimum level? The social optimum level, which would have been the level that is desired by the society. The social optimum level, yes, it's the pink or the red, according to what you all see in your screen, right? That is the social optimum level. So based on this, can you all tell me, now this is what they're actually doing, right? The green is what they're actually doing, but they should have been doing the red one, right? Are they underproducing or overproducing? Compare with the quantity axis. Underproduced or overproduced? They're currently in the green, they should have been doing the red. Compare the numbers and see it. It's underproduced, right? Now, come on, you read a graph here, so now this H will be a lower number than the J, right? So it's underproduced, or you can even say underconsumption. That's a different story. So almost a kind of the same thing. So you can say it's underconsumed, right? So you are only producing at this point or consuming at this point, but you ideally should have been at J. And can you tell about the price? Okay, so first thing I'll say, it's under consumed or underproduced. Can you tell me the price? Is it overpriced or underpriced? You're charging P1, but you should have charged P2. Underpriced or overpriced? It's underpriced, right? They're charging a price that is too low. They're charging the green, guys. They should have charged the red. Okay, they should have charged the red P2. They should have produced the quantity J, but they are producing only H. They are underproducing. Also, they have underpriced the good. That's how you read the graphs, guys, right? Remember, all four of these graphs, you all should be able to read it. You all should be able to figure it out. Okay, and the moment you realize, okay, which graph is this about? Yeah, guys, you can say consumption production. That's no problem. Which graph is this? Okay, consumption fine. What example? There are four graphs. Which exact graph is this? Which one? You should be able to see this case. You should be able to figure that out soon. So first of all, there is two benefit curves. So you're talking about a consumption, right? That is the first thing. The second thing, right? When the marginal social benefit is greater than the private benefit, it's a positive externality. So it's a positive externality in consumption, guys. Right? Hey, logically understand, don't memorize the graphs, right? Memorizing the graph is not going to make sense. So this graph is a positive externality in consumption. Okay. Yes, negative externality is overconsumed. Is underconsumed. Okay. So then, okay, what is the answer, guys? So in the absence of government intervention in this market, misallocation of resources is likely to occur because of the free market price is too high. No, guys, the free market price is P1. It's too low, actually, right? So it's not this. There is overproduction of the good HJ. No, there is underproduction of the good HJ, right? They should have produced at J, but they're producing only at H. It's underproduced, not overproduced. So not this, right? Free market output is too high. No, it's too low. They're actually producing less, not this. There is underconsumption. Yes, because you can say underconsumption, underproduction, both kind of the same thing. If it's underproduced, obviously it's underconsumed. Okay. So underconsumption of goods by HJ, yes, right? So they should have been at J, but they're actually consuming at H. So that looks like the answer. There is a negative externality in consumption. No, guys, this is a positive externality in consumption. The social benefit is much more higher than the private benefit. So it's all about reading the graph, right? There is no rocket science. If you go through whatever things, not fast track people, my revision people, if you don't remember things, please go and refer to the diagram, right? I would have told you one by one, step by step, how to read this diagram. All the four diagrams, recording should be there. We would have done that in somewhere around in February, somewhere around the second or third week of February. No, I think the second week of February, we would have done this. Ideally, session 2 of your unit number 8. That is where your recording should be there. Right? If I remember that much, I'm hoping people like you, I've never watched any of my recording ever again. Why should I watch my recording, right? But I know where it is. That is the recording that you all should go and watch. Revision people, in February, unit number 8, session number 2 idea. Okay, all these diagrams were explained in detail. Right, that's 37. Then we go on to, let's say, 38. Okay, this one I put in the latest numbers also, guys, because I felt so they ask you the government revenue to GDP ratio. So revenue as a percentage as GDP and expenditure as a percentage of GDP in Sri Lanka in the recent years. Now, this is when I wrote it. I can't remember the exact number when I wrote it, but I remember the budget deficit. I think it was, there's the past paper say 5. I remember expenditure at around 19, 18.6 or something. There's a past paper say 5. 15, 16, and yes. Okay. It says 3. 3 or 5. I can't remember. This is in 2017, guys. Yes. What does the past paper say? I remember something like, it says 3. Okay. So then in that year, it would have been 3, guys. But now remember, you can't replicate these answers in your year, right? That is why I put the central bank report, the value. So this is the 2019 values. Okay. So if you look at your year, okay, total revenue and grants, it's around 12.6% of GDP, and total expenditure is around 22.2% of GDP. Right. So you go with these numbers. Don't memorize these answers. 13.4, 13 to 14, and 20 to 21, and go and write. You go with these answers. Right? Might be close to what is there, but it's not the exact answer. Okay, so based on this, you get a overall deficit of 9.6 minus 9.6, and you get the deficits as well: current account deficit, primary balance, and the overall fiscal balance. So those kind of things do have an idea because they can test in the paper. Right? So these are your numbers relevant to your year. Okay, now it can change recently because this is 2019 figures, right? The 2019, because in the 2020 central bank report also, the 2020 ones are kind of approximates. Sometimes you might it might change in the 2020. Now see guys, now usually when they put a question, I doubt if they would put a question in your year. The reason is between 2019 and 2020 there's a lot of changes. Now even if they ask you what are the major sources of tax revenue in Sri Lanka in the recent years, right, again it changes, right? Why? Because in 2019 some other taxes, which tax is the highest in 2019 according to 2019 tax that gives you the most? I think 2019 is VAT, right? In 2020 it's excise. Remember, I think I showed you this, right? Last class, no? I remember showing you something on a diagram. Yeah, central bank report. So now because of those kind of things, guys, right? They might not put in a question like this because it's confusing. Because when they say recent years, you don't know now. 2020 is a recent year. 2019 is a recent year, right? So you don't know those kind of things. So because of that, they might not put in questions like that, and because it has changed. Now even if you look at government expenditure, government revenue, and all of it, it has changed drastically, right? So they can't put in a number like this. They can't say now between 13 and 14 because it can be two huge large numbers. So unlikely you will get a percentage question, but still know the percentages. That's my personal feeling, but I don't know, it might come. That's a different story, but personally I feel it might not show up in a MCQ. Should you take figures? Ideally 2019, but it's good to know the 2020 numbers also, right? Guys, remember I told you, right? It doesn't matter which year you remember, okay? On your end, you need to, 2018 not really needed at your level. 2019 and 2020 would be ideal. 2019 would be even more perfect, but what you don't realize is the proper 2019 figures is there in the 2020 central bank report, right? So in the 2019 central bank report, the 2019 figures sometimes can be estimates or can be provisional figures. That means it's not properly 100% thing. It's like a, kind of an estimate here and there. So you get better numbers of 2019 in the 2020 CBSL. Okay, so look into small things like that. Okay, so I think the past paper says 3. I also don't remember what exactly that thing was in 2017, but right now, if you're writing, remember these numbers, right? So revenue has to be 12.6. The expenditure has to be 22.2. Okay, then this one. According to the relative importance in total expenditure, the main components of recurrent expenditure. So I again put a thing here, guys. This is again the 2019 and 2020. 2020 is provisional though. We'll go with the 2019. What are the main components here, guys? Look at the numbers, recurrent expenditure. So you only read the recurrent expenditure part, right? Don't read the other parts. So read until here. This part. What are the biggest parts, guys? Which one is the biggest? You have expenditure on goods and services. Under that, you have salaries and wages. You have interest payments, domestic and foreign. You have transfers. Which one is the biggest, guys? So it's interest payments that is the biggest. So this is the first one, right? That's number 1. What's 2? Number 2 after interest payments, you can say expenditure on goods and services. That would have been the second. Is under goods and services only you have this, right? So now you can't say salaries and wages is third. So inside this, now can you see a small alignment here? Now under interest payments only it's there, right? Under this only these two are there, right? So under transfers only these are there. So don't say this is second and this is third. So according to your answer, what is there, we'll shape it up. Okay. So what do you have? Look at the thing there. Okay, so now again, guys, this is a 2017 paper, right? So it would have been different in 2017 compared to what it is now. So according to the relative importance in expenditure, main components: transfer to household, interest payment, salaries and wages. Salaries and wages, interest payment, transfer to households. transfer to public institutions. Okay, okay, I'll just guess. I'm pretty sure it's not the third one. Transfer to households, that will never be the first one. Does the answer say 2 in the past paper? Past paper says 2. Yes. Okay, so according to the past paper, it should be 2, but according to our one, right, current one, remember guys, you can't replicate these answers in your paper, right? Current one, you need to realize interest payments are much higher, right? So interest payments are 6% of GDP, salaries and wages are only 4.6%, right? So in our, okay, so in our case, yes, it's this thing. So in our case, remember, you go with interest payments. Okay, that's number 1. 2, you can say under goods and services, that can be 2. Under that, if they have not given goods and expenditure on goods and services, then a main component of that is salaries and wages, that can be 3. And then you can give transfer expense. Guys, there are some very, now see, now this is the importance of right, transfer expenditure. Now in case, right, now they might sometimes, I've seen past paper questions that say, you know, what are the major transfer expenditures in Sri Lanka? Look over here itself, you get 3 expenditures, right? Some of the benefits, right, 0.3% of GDP, pensions 1.5% of GDP, fertilizer subsidy 0.2% of GDP, and then you have some other transfers that they give. Now for example, even that 5,000 that you would have got, right, the COVID lockdown transfer, that's also transfer, right? So those are all transfer expenditure. In case they ask you to, let's say, name 3 transfer expenditure, here are your answers. That is why, guys, you need to be updated with the central bank report also. Sometimes everything might not be there in your note, right? Now if you really want to know much more expenses, right, much more transfer expenditure in the central bank report, go and dig deep into what is this other. You might get around 5-10 more examples. That has to come from your end, guys, right? It's freely available on the internet. You can go and download. I would have shown you 100 times how to download that, right? And go and sort that out. Okay, so past paper the answer is 2, but if you're going with your current year, you go with these, right? Interest payment number 1, goods and services, under that salaries and wages number 2, transfer expenditure number 3. Okay, that's 39. Okay, this one, this has not changed earlier also. The widely used credit instrument in domestic financing, right? Instrument in domestic financing budget deficit of Sri Lanka in the recent year has been treasury bills, treasury bonds, rupee securities, Sri Lanka development bonds, interbank advances. Which one? Domestic financing? Yes, domestic financing. There is no theory here, guys. Is again different tools they can use. But even now, even in the year 2017, the same thing, if I'm not mistaken, they mainly use treasury bonds, right? So if you want, I can check the central bank report and reconfirm right now also. I'll give me a second. CBSL report 2020. Hold on. Okay. If I'm not mistaken, even right now it's treasury bonds. We'll reconfirm. Hold on. You go to fiscal policy. Loading. Hold on. What's the end that is there? Does anyone usually checks these central bank reports? No, never checked. It's there. I know it's a nice document. I've never even opened it. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the 2020 figures, right? If you look at it, can you see treasury bonds is the highest, right? So you have treasury bonds, that is the highest. Okay, you live in that nice. That case, so treasury bonds is the highest, right? After treasury bonds, look at this here, treasury bills 18%. Yes, Sri Lanka. So these are the numbers that they have given, guys. Now, for example, they can put a part 2 question. They can ask you, right? From where are they getting the money, right? What are the central bank this thing, right? So it's nice to understand the report, guys. It has a lot of details also. See, the central bank advances, that is 2% of it, right? And then you have Sri Lanka, the development bonds, that is 5%, right? Sovereign bonds and stuff, again, another 5%. So different stuff are there. So you need to know what is more important. That's that, right? So treasury bonds is your answer. Done. Okay, are we done with that paper? Yes. Right. 5 out of 5, no? Okay, but these answers don't really count 39 and 38. That's fine. 3, 4, 5. Yes. Compulsory to give the percentage. Give the percentage where? I don't know. Right. Okay. So now we go into 2018. Okay, this is 2018 A levels. Okay. So can you see this is the third time they're testing the what? Positive externality in consumption in a row. Yeah, when you're giving compositions, yes, ideally a percentage would have been nice. Right? Yes, correct. Okay, when consumption of a certain good generates positive externalities, largest contribution, yes, EPF pension fund, instrument, yeah, it's all of those are there in the central bank report, right? I want you all on your end to actually go through those. So when consumption of certain good generates positive externality, guys, now this is the third time in a row they're asking you for a positive externality consumption, right? This entire story. So which one, guys? Marginal social benefit is less than the marginal private cost. Social benefit is greater than the private benefit. That. I put the diagram also if you really want to compare and see. Okay, can we, guys, if you are really listening, you should be able to figure out an answer. I kind of explained this. Listening is on your end, right? Make sure that the whole point of doing a past paper is to make sure that you don't repeat the same mistake again. Okay, so if you got it wrong the previous time, you should be able to correct it and do it this time. Otherwise, there is no point doing 100,000 questions, right? That is why in my case also, when I give questions, I'm not the teacher that focuses on a lot of questions. Right now, even I fast track to everything. Yes, there are questions, but I definitely know there are teachers who say that they are doing 1,000 MCQs, 2,000 MCQs, but it doesn't matter if you're not learning from it. And also, if the question is too easy, there's nothing to learn from it. That's another point, right? So you all also, when you all focus on questions, right? Past papers are really good questions because that is the type of questions you all will get. Then my past track questions are good enough, right? And sometimes the questions on the internet are too easy, right? So even though you do 1,000 of them, right, you're not learning anything. So if you're, then don't waste the time doing it. Things like that are there, right? Okay. So which one here, guys? Reading the graph, you all should be able to figure out that the marginal social benefit, okay, this one is greater than the marginal private benefit. So which answer gives you that? It's the second answer that talks about that. The social benefit is greater than the private benefit. If you look at it, all the others does not really make sense, right? I think I would have talked about this, so I'm not going to go through each individual answer. That is that. Now, since 3 years in a row, they asked about the same thing. Maybe next year they might ask about another externality, right? Maybe there are 3 other diagrams or 3 other situations might come up from one of that. You never know. Okay. Which of the following is most likely to be a reason for what economists call the phenomenon of government failure? Which of this could be a reason for government failure, guys? Not market failure, for government failure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, market fails, government intervenes to correct the market failure, government also fails. So they are not asking you a reason for market failure, a reason for government to fail. Which one? Okay. If you look at the answers here, okay, negative externalities is market failure, right? A reason for market failure. Because of negative externalities, goods are over produced. So reason for market failure. Excessive consumption of demerit goods. So overconsumption, again, market failure. Unequal distribution of income and wealth, again, a reason for market failure, right? Income inequalities. Imperfect competition, again, reason for market failure, because things like monopolies and stuff like that, they charge a price much higher than the marginal cost. So leads to market failure. And then the pursuit of self-interest among politicians. This is not market failure. This is government failure. These reasons are directly given right in your note. This is like reasons of government failure, they would have had, right? Rigidity in government policies, bureaucracy, political self-interest, short-term vision, right? Directly there in whatever note that you all study. That's 36. Answer number 5, right? Common for market failure. Imperfect information is common for market failure and government failure. Imperfect information, yes, you can say, yeah. Imperfect information, you can say, is common for both. Imperfect, for government failure, you can say making decisions based on imperfect information. Yeah, you can add a little bit more there, but yes, imperfect information can be a reason common for both. Good, nice to see you all notice things like that. Right, that's 36. Okay. Then 37. Okay, again, a question that is repeated. Which the following is true of the marginal cost? True of the marginal cost, providing a pure public good to one more consumer. Which one, guys? I explained this before, right? It's equal to Z. True. Just because you provided to one more additional person, there is no additional cost. So it is equal to 0, guys. So I'm not going to talk about it again. It's the same repeated question that was there in a previous paper. That's 37. Okay, then principal sources of tax revenue in Sri Lanka are. So if you look at in 2019 and 2020, remember now this type of question, it's a little rare because in case, okay, remember, right? In case this year, in your year, if they give you, they will specifically say in 2020, what was it? In 2019, what was it, right? They will not use this word recent years or something, right? Because recent years, it has changed in the recent years. So if they give you 2019, guys, 2019 are the in brackets numbers, right? These numbers. So in 2019, if you realize, VAT was number 1, okay? Income tax was number 2, excise taxes were 3. But in 2020, the ones in black here, right? It's excise that is 1, it's income that is 2, it's VAT that is 3. So VAT and excise duties have changed positions in 2019-20. So you all need to know these, guys, because you remember import duties, both the years it was the 4th, right? So this is the 4th one. That will never be in the first 3. So when you get a question, right? If they are giving a question this year, they will, guys, other taxes, guys, don't take that as a component because other taxes is a combination of 100 different taxes. So don't put that as a component into when classifying those, right? So in this case, in your year, okay, if they give you a question, they will not say recent years. I'm repeating, guys. They will specifically say what were the major sources of taxes in 2019, or they will say 2020, or they can combine and say in 2019 and 2020, they can give you like 2 columns and they can give you a question like that. So that is up to them to test. They will not use the recent years thing. I'm guys repeatedly telling you, trust me, these things do show up, right? When I repeatedly say something, I'm not saying 100% it shows up, but usually what I feel, because I also have some experience in the paper, right? I've been doing the papers, I've been kind of something. So whatever I say, it might show up. They might ask this. I'm not saying 100% they will definitely ask this, right? There is a high probability. So jot things down and keep. So then if you look at, if you answer this based on, okay, what is the answer in this? I think they would have gone with, not this, income, but not this. They would have gone with number 1 in the past paper. Yes, past paper says number 1 in that year. Yes, okay, so according to the past paper, guys, it should be number 1, that is in that year, right? Income, value, and excise. But remember, when you're answering according to 2019 and 2020, you need to change answers according to this. Don't go and memorize and say, this past paper said this year, so I also should go and say this, right? So, guys, now you can even answer this with common sense, right? Because you know things like this. Now, turnover tax, stamp duty, nation building tax, right? Port levy. You know the top 3 are the same, guys. The top 3 are not going to change. Excise, VAT, and income. That is the top 3. Usually the 4th one is import duty. So even using a bit of common sense, you can eliminate the other 4 answers and you can get the correct answer. That needs to come in, guys. Trust me, in MCQs, you don't know 100% of the things. Use a bit of common sense, eliminate the wrong answer, then end up with the correct answer. You can do that also. So be smart enough. Okay. Right, that's 38. Okay. Again, a very easy question that is happening these days also. Appropriate fiscal policy to combat a recession, that means to solve a recession, to come out of a recession, right, would be an increase of what? Increase of interest rates, increase of money supply, increase of taxes, increase in the sale of government bonds, increase in government spending. What should they do? Fiscal policy to combat a recession. Combat a recession means to come out of a recession. What should they do? They need to increase government spending, guys, right? Not taxes, guys, because if you increase taxes, you're going to go down and down. You're going to go down even more. It's increasing taxes is a contractionary fiscal points. You need to have something of a expansion resource. An expansionary fiscal policy is increasing government spending. So 39, answer should be 5. Done. Yeah, that's it. 5 or 5? No, that was an easy paper. 39, 38. 37, 36, and 35. Yes, 4 or 5, 5 or 5, no. Okay, so that's 2018. Guys, can someone let me know the 2019 paper? Is it this or this? One is the 2019 old, one is the 2019 new one. In your past paper book, the 2019 new one is there. Can you tell me which one is the 2019 new one? Is it this or this? You have 3 more papers. The public good one, is this the 2019 new paper? In your past paper book, check question 34. Does it say a public good is something or not? Is the old? Okay, so then this is the 2019, the old syllabus paper, because they had 2 papers, right? Syllabus changed. Yes, so this is 2019, the old one, right? So again, questions are not that hard, guys. So we'll go through the questions. Okay, this you all might not have in your past paper book, but it is there in whatever Google Drive that I would have sent you all, guys. Please don't drop me messages asking for that, because I've sent that 100 times. Okay, a public good is what? A good that the general public must pay for, non-rival in consumption, are costly than a private good, good that generates positive externality, good that generates negative externality. Which one? It's non-rival, non-excludable, right? But you don't have a complete answer, but you have a part of the answer. That's fine, right? Remember, a public good, you can't say whether it gives good or positive or negative. That's merit and demerit, right? So doesn't cost and stuff like that. No, you can end up with answer number 2 for 34. Then if you look at the okay, if you look at 35, okay, again a nice diagram, right? Okay, you all need to know to read these diagrams. Okay, the diagram below displays 2 competitive markets for good A and good B. MSC is marginal social cost, MPC is marginal private cost. So I'll give you a few seconds, see if you can come up with an answer. Which one is the better answer? The second answer is not there. Can we take 4? Not really. In the previous one, because 4 you can't really say whether it gives a positive or negative. Because public goods, there is no externality part there. Which one, guys? Okay. So if you read the diagrams, right? The first diagram. Can you tell me which diagram is this from the 4 diagrams? Be specific. Positive, negative, consumption, or production. Diagram A is what? The marginal social cost is higher than the marginal private cost. Okay, they're talking about the cost. Means a production externality. Positive or negative? Social cost is greater than this thing. Because it's a negative externality, right? A negative externality in production, right? The society is bearing a higher cost than the private person. It's a negative externality. This is the 2019 old syllabus. You might not have this in your past paper book. Okay, what is this then? What is this diagram? Diagram B. Again, cost, right? Copy and paste. So that's the production one, but here the private cost is greater, right? So that's a positive externality in production. Okay, so you all need to figure out those first if you all really want to. So both of these diagrams are definitely showing externalities. So based on that, you can say the answer is number 1, but I'll show you how does this go wrong, right? So answer is a very clear one, is a very easy one. Both diagrams demonstrate the existence of externality. Because if there is no externalities, then the private cost, social cost, private benefit, social benefit, the curves will be the same. no external benefit or external cost. So here there is an, because the social cost is greater, there is an external cost. Because the private cost is greater, there is an external cost. So it shows externality. So answer is number 1, but I'll show you why the other ones are wrong, right? Now, both diagrams demonstrate negative. No, one is negative, one is positive. Both diagrams demonstrate positive. No, one is negative. Again, one is positive. Diagram A demonstrates efficiency, inefficiency through underproduction. If you look at A, guys, negative externalities, they are overproduced, guys. They are produced at this point. The social optimum level is here, right? So they're producing a much higher point, right? So it's not underproduced, it's overproduced. So again, the answer here, underproduction, is wrong. Diagram B demonstrates efficiency through overproduction. Again, no, right? You are actually producing private cost, private benefit here, but social optimum level is here, right? You're not overproducing, you're actually underproducing. So again, that is where that also goes wrong. Okay. Diagram A supply curve is on the left side. So MSc degrees. Okay, that's not how you read it, right? How you read this diagram is this way. Now, for example, let's say you take this quantity, right? So at this quantity, guys, you draw a line up, right? So the private cost is here. The social cost is here. That's how you read the graph. So social cost is higher than the private cost, means there is a negative externality. Now, how do you read this graph again? How do you read which one is higher? So remember this axis, guys. Now here they say price, but this axis is price and cost both. So at this quantity, right? This is the private cost. This is the this is the social cost. That's a private cost. So likewise, you can compare. Don't think which one is the normal demand supply, right? Okay, how to identify if there is no externality? Guys, if there is no externality, right, both these curves will be the same. The private cost and the social cost will be the same. There will only be one curve. They will say marginal private cost equals marginal social cost. That means there is no externality. Okay, that is that. So, okay, so we end up with answer number 1, guys. Yes, please remember, know how to read this, guys. If you were my fast track, my revision class student, please go and watch the recordings. I would have explained in detail how to read this tag. Okay. Oh, else, guys, I think even on the internet, you should find videos here and there. That's 35. Then if you go into 36, okay, again another one. Okay, government failure occurs when? Which one? Social costs in the market are greater than social benefit. Government fails to intervene in the market. Externalities exist in the market. Government intervention leads to a net welfare loss compared to the free market solution. Government fails to remove production inefficiency and allocate it. What do you all think is the answer? Government failure occurs when? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, few things that I can say. Definitely, it's not number 1, right? Government failure does not occur when social cost is greater than social benefit. So it's not this, right? Externalities in the market, again, not this, right? So it's not 1 or 3. Let's eliminate and see, right? It looks like there are tricky questions, tricky answers here. Government fails to intervene in the market. Not really. I don't think government leads to net welfare loss. Free market solution. Government fails to remove production inefficiency and allocate it. Guys, anyone who has the answer, can you check if the answer is 4? It looks like 4, but I'm also not 100% sure. You can argue whether it's 5 also. Anyone has the paper? No? You want me to check? No one. Not much of you all have the paper, no? Hold on. I think it should be 4. 4? Yes. Okay, so yeah, okay. So then it should be 4. Why is it 4? I'll show you, right? On this end, but government fails to intervene in the market is not government failure, guys. Government failure is where government intervenes. He intervenes and then he does something stupid, right? He causes something even worse than what the market did. That is what government fails. It's not that the government is failing to intervene. They intervene and then they fail. They do something stupid. So it's not 2 also. 2 is correct. But then even 5, you can argue, right? You can argue that government fails to remove production efficiency and allocative inefficiency. You can argue that it is correct, but 4, I feel, is a better answer. That where government failure is where the government comes in and he causes a mess that is much more than what was there, right? Because now let's say market failed, right? There was market failure. To solve that market failure, only government came. Now, if the government can do something better than that, then you can say, there is no government failure. But if the government comes in and makes a worse thing, right, than what the market did, if they make it even worse, then you call it market failure. So that is why we say government intervention leads to a net welfare loss compared to the free market. So free market was doing all right. Government came and they made it even worse. So that could be the reason, right? Guys, when you talk about allocative efficiency and all that, don't think of it in that angle. This is a different story, guys. In the fifth one, this allocative efficiency, production efficiency is another one, right? You talk about the not about efficient than these people. It's about there's a different side to it. In your syllabus, you don't go into that detail in that. Now, if you look at now, for example, if you all have realized, I don't know if you all have realized now the what things like this, right? Things like, let's say, monopolies and stuff like that, they are not allocatively efficient. You all know that. Now, if you look at this thing, if you look at, let's say, things like what perfect competition, that is allocatively efficient. But if you look at monopolies, oligopoly and stuff like that, they're not allocatively efficient. They're talking about that side of the story, right? That's not really there in your syllabus. If you study further, you might study that somewhere there. It's just a random question. Anyone planning to study econ in the future? No. This is it. You when I want econ, like econ, no? Compare the 3-1. Yes, you can relate the fourth option to deficiency wavelengths after that. Yes, net welfare losses. Yes, you do. If you, I know during from the 3 subjects, which of the 3 is your favorite? I don't know. From the 3 that you all do, okay, some of them might be okay. Literature is there. These are the 3. Accounts, econ. No, there's no econ. Okay. On my end, BS was never the favorite, right? BS was annoying for me, right? Because I hate memorizing and stuff like that. Accounting was also okay, but same sum. There was no logic behind it. When you simply make a sum and it balances, fine, right? So I was not a real accounts fan also, because again, no logic, right? You just make a sum and you add a few things and minus a few things, tadang, you have an answer, right? And then again, all of those entire things, right, what you're learning in A levels and stuff, you will never be making that in real life, right? All of those company accounts to all of it are auto generated in companies, right? You have accounting software, you enter the transaction, it gives you a balance of what thing do everything. So you will never be making cash flow statements, sitting and balancing all these things. You will never be doing that, right? So okay, those things are there. And then business studies also, I felt, is too theory. Now, I'm not saying whatever you study in econ also you will be using in real life, but it practically makes a bit more sense. Uni at econ at uni is good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's very good. It's good. All right, no problem. But it's totally different than what you will expect. Nice. So people doing literature, I think you'll like it also. I think, yeah. And I also have friends who do that. Okay, guys, again. Now see, 2019 paper, you have the same question, they have changed the other thing. In a previous paper, they asked you a regressive income tax, right? A regressive tax is where the poor pay. Now here they're asking you a progressive income tax, right? So a progressive income tax is what, guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A progressive income tax rate structure is in operation, right? The rich pay, okay, the rich pay a lower percentage than the poor. No, guys, that's a regressive tax. Right? We are talking about progressive. Remember, progressive, regressive, not the same thing. Huh? Talking about progressive. So it's not number 1. Okay. Where a smaller rupee amount. Remember, I always say don't go with the rupee amount, because it can be smaller, it can be larger, even it can be equal sometimes. Right? So not this. A fixed percentage of their income in taxes, whatever the level of income, that is not really progressive, right? So the rich pay a gradually increasing percentage. Remember, the more income you earn, the higher percentage you pay. So that is a regressive tax. So that is where the answer comes from. 37 is answer number 4. A gradually increasing percentage of income in taxes as income increases. So, and then 5, not a decreasing percentage, it's an increasing percentage. And these are very basics, guys, if you all know the unit. Okay, that's 37. Done. Okay, central government debt as a percentage of GDP. Again, see, they're asking in 2017 and 2018. Now you can get a question like this. They can give you 2019 and 2020. Now, guys, these numbers are also very subjective, right? Now, this year's central bank report might say this. In the later central bank report, it might say another number. Why? Because now remember I told you this GDP and stuff like that, it's not easy to calculate. So every year it might change, guys, those numbers. Now, for example, in the 2020 central bank report, they might change the 2017 GDP because there can be things that they newly found, right? There can be errors which they found 3 years later, so they can change that. So if you look at it, there can be small changes that can happen in the future. So if you look at 2017 and 2018, was it one? Anyone who has the answer? I can't remember. Okay. So let's look at this. The diagram has over here. So according to the diagram, guys, 2017 is 77.9, 84.2. But you won't find those answers here because this has been taken from the 2020 central bank report. So in the 2020, guys, remember that the 2017 and 18 figures would have got adjusted. Okay. So which would have been a better answer here? 77 point. Okay, I think the closest one is number one, right? So from this, the closer one would have been this. But in case they ask you in your year, right? What you need to realize is now, again, this 2020 figure is the provisional figure. Provisional means like an estimate kind of thing. Okay, not finalized numbers. So it's somewhere close to this now. Now, even in now this year, 2020 and stuff, their central government debt is even more than the GDP, right? That does not mean our GDP is debt, right? As a percentage, see, it's exceeding 100%. So if our GDP is, let's say, 80 billion, our debt is more than 80 billion. And so we, even if you use our entire GDP to pay our debt, we still can't pay it off. It's that bad, right? So that's to it. So that right now, 2020, it's somewhere around this. Now this figure can change, but remember, it's closer to 100%. Things that you all need to remember. In 2019, it was okay. It was around 86%, right? But here there was a huge increase. This is because of Corona and all of that. Okay, debt and everything. So know these numbers can come, guys. Remember now these can you all see? And if you look at the papers, there are questions that come from these numbers, right? So that is why you all need to know these numbers. You don't have to know the exact number, at least somewhere close, right? It's somewhere around this. That common sense has to come there so that you answer it. Okay, that's that. Okay, so that's about that paper, and then we have the last two papers. Okay, so the last two papers in your new syllabus. So after doing all of this, guys, if you all can do these two questions, I think do these two papers, get 5 out of 5. That means on my end, I have been successful. So this is the 2019 paper. This is your last two papers in your paper. So you will also get a paper very similar to this. So if you have paid attention from 2011 to all the way to 2019, the whole syllabus paper, you can get 5 out of 5. I have done a good job. You've done a good job. Okay, so we put in answers, right? Which PDF? I am not very sure. Okay, so 32. Marginal cost of one more person to use a PO public good. Come on, have we given answers? Shall we get 5 out of 5 here now? Somehow. 32 is 3, right? 0, 1 mark, right? Directly. Now see the benefit of doing a past paper. Okay, now this question came in twice. This is the third time that you're doing it, right? So the people who did A levels in 2019, this could have been a nothing question. Okay, exactly. That's why we do past papers, guys, because same questions come, right? Okay, a merit good. Can you tell me that? Benefit both the recipient and the society. Is 31 also? There's a question before this. Sorry. Okay, sorry. There's 31 also. Okay, fine. Sorry, I put the question, but I start from the wrong one. Okay, 2019. Okay, tell me this one. 31. When a negative externality exists as a result of a production of a good, the social optimum quantity could be achieved by how much? Now, remember, okay, first of all, when there is a negative externality, guys, right? Can you tell me, is it overproduced or underproduced? Tell me that first. A negative externality. A negative externality exists as a result of production of a good, right? So is it over or under? First, that basic you need to know, right? It's overproduced. So it's produced more. So you need to reduce the production. What can you do to reduce the production? Which one of the answers? There is overproduction, right? Free market equilibrium, right? Through free market equilibrium, you should not be able to get it, right? Subsidizing the production. If you subsidize the production, guys, it will be produced even more, right? So it's definitely not subsidizing the production. Placing limits on the quantity that can be produced, government purchase of the good, setting a minimum of the quantity that can be produced. Guys, if the government purchase, that's again another problem. Right now, definitely free market will not be solving it. Subsidy will make you produce even more than the overproduction. You need to reduce the production, guys. What can you do to reduce the production? Ideally, yes, a tax, but a tax is not there in these answers. Right? Ideally, if you put a tax, yes, you can reduce the production, but no tax here. So which of these would be a better one? Placing limits. Guys, 3 and 5 don't look the same. 3 and 5 are the opposites. Guys, 5 is talking about setting a minimum on the quantity. If they say setting a maximum quantity, then it would have made sense. Setting a minimum quantity means people can produce, let's say minimum they say 50 units, people can produce even more than 50. Then that goes for a 6. So it's not 5. Maybe if they say setting a maximum quantity, then would have made sense. Yeah. So which one? Government purchasing or placing limits? Yes, look at your logically understand. You're trying to reduce the quantity. So from which of these can you reduce the quantity? You can by placing limits, right? You can say maximum, cigarette you can produce is only this much. Maximum liquor production, negative externality, you can only produce this much. So they can put in things. The government purchasing is not going to help, guys. That's another stupid thing that they can do. And so it's number 3, right? So a negative externality in production, how can you solve it? Because they are not asking you what it is, they're asking you how to bring to the social optimum level, right? How do you bring it to this? So by setting a limit, it's overproduced, you need to reduce the production. That's 31. Then okay, 32 also we've done. I started from this. Okay, so 32 we did. Okay, 33. A merit good is a good which benefits both recipient and society, does not have a social cost in production. Private benefits of consuming exceed social benefits, cannot be supplied through market forces, can be supplied efficiently through market forces. Yes, a merit good. What externality in what? Merit goods are? Because I would have told this 100 times now. What externality in what is a merit good? It's a positive externality in consumption. Guys, don't ever forget those, right? Those are the basics that you come from. So a positive externality in consumption, which benefit is higher? The social benefit or the private benefit? Which one is higher? The social benefit. Society is getting much more benefit because there is an external benefit. So social benefit, right? The society, right? The society's benefit is greater than the private benefit. What does that mean? That means there is a positive, right? There is a positive external benefit. Someone outside also is getting benefited. So then, okay, we'll eliminate a few answers. Okay, one thing, guys, can be supplied efficiently through market forces means they can produce the right quantity. Are they producing the right quantity or not? Are they overproducing, underproducing, or are they producing the exact amount? Positive externality in consumption. They are doing what? They are underproducing those, right? So can you say that they are supplied efficiently to the market forces? No, they are underproducing the market forces. So that is wrong, right? Cannot be supplied through market forces. No, right? To some extent you supply. Yes, it is underproduced, but they supply. Now, public goods cannot be supplied through market forces. Public goods, no one supplies. For public good, it would have been a point. But merit goods, it is supplied, but it is supplied less than the quantity. So you can't say cannot be supplied. So we cut off number 4 also, right? Private benefit exceeds social benefit. Yes or no? Private benefit exceeds social benefit. No, right? Social benefit is exceeding private benefit. So we cut off this also, right? Does not have a social cost in production. Is there a social cost in production? There is, guys. Come on, if you draw your diagram, right? You draw your diagram, there is a social cost, no? Like marginal social cost equals marginal private cost, right? You have a cost. It is equal, but you can't say there is no cost, no? There is a cost. So that is also gone. So you end up with answer number 1. And look at it. Benefits both the recipient, guys. The recipient means the private benefit, the person who is consuming it, and the society. That means the social benefit. So it benefits the person, right? The recipient is the person, guys. Let's say you are consuming something, you are the recipient. Society is the social part of it, right? So there is a social benefit and a private benefit. So it's the same question, right? They're testing it a little different way, right? All four externalities has a social cost. Yes, guys, all the externalities, they have a social cost, they have a private cost, they have everything. The fact that whether it's equal, fact that whether what is higher is different in all four. But you can't say there is no social cost or no social benefit in anything. Let's come on, read the graph, guys. It never had zero, no? There is some amount. So are we okay there with 33 with answer number 1? Yes? No? Check. Okay. Right. 34. Okay, again a question I don't think that was there in much of the past papers, but this comes directly from your note, right? Primary account balance of the government budget is defined as the difference between what? How do you find primary account balance, guys? I put these numbers from the central bank report to calculate and show you. Okay, sorry. Right, I think I would have shown this to my fast track people, but I'll show this to you here, right? Is how do you calculate the primary account balance, guys? You take the total revenue. Okay, so if you all have a calculator with you, right? Do this calculation with me, right? You take the total revenue and grants. Okay, that is this number. Type in this number. From this, you deduct the total expenditure except interest payments. So total expenditure is 3 million something, right? Your interest payments is 901, right? So you should get the primary account balance. So you take your total expenditure, okay? Total expenditure, including grants, right? Including grants, that is 1 million, sorry, total income including grants, total income including grants, right? Can you tell me what answer you all get? 898,808. From this, you need to minus total expenditure without interest payment, right? So the total expenditure is 3,337,896, right? So from this, if you remove interest payments, that is 901,353, how much is the total expenditure without interest payments? Total expenditure without interest payment. And guys, can someone do the numbers for me and send me an answer? 3337 dot 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 this thing minus this one. 3,337,896. So you get 433,5351. No, you can't get, guys. It has to be minus. It has to be some 2 million something. See, 3 million minus a 900,000. 2436. This one, is this the expenditure without interest payments? Yes. Okay, I don't know if that number is right, but I'm getting few people told me this, right? Okay, so you deduct this. Tell me how much, what is the answer that you get? So that's the primary account balance, guys. Primary account balance. So total expenditure without interest. Okay, but that's primary balance or primary account balance. How much do we get? It should be a negative, right? Because your expenditure is higher. So it has to be a minus. How much? 5377. Can you all recheck? If you guys, is the numbers right? I don't know if the numbers are right. Do you want me to do the calculation for you? I put the right numbers. Is the up number correct? Is this correct? 901 353 337 963 3337 896 minus 901 353 2436 543 1898 808 minus 2436543. Yeah, you get this one, you get 537735. Yes. Okay, so if you look at it, right, can you see both the answers are the same? Okay, this is 36, but that is rounding off, guys, because these are not exact figures, right? There might be decimals. So that's how you get that, guys. If you look at the central bank report, you get the primary account balance. That's how this number has come. How has this number come? From the total revenue, including grants, you remove the total expenditure, excluding interest payment. Or else what you can do is, guys, what is the other way that you can do it? You can take the total revenue, right? You can take the total expenditure, right? You get the overall balance. For the overall balance, you can add back interest payments. If that did not make sense, just leave that, right? Go with the normal definition. So here's how do we calculate? Can you give me an answer for this one? Primary account balance of the government budget is defined as the difference between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, total revenue and recurrent expenditure is total revenue except grants and recurrent expenditure. You can call this the current account balance, right? Tax revenue and recurrent. Okay, sorry, this tax. No, this is no. There is no balance like that. Total revenue and total expenditure excluding repayment of debt. There is nothing like that. So I leave the second answer, guys. Right? Total revenue including grants. That is this number that we got 1898. And total expenditure excluding interest payments. So the total expenditure without the interest payments. The total expenditure was 3 million something. If you remove the interest payment, you got 2,043,000. So that is the correct amount. Right? So that is how. Okay, these are direct things that will be there in your note, right? I'm hoping your whatever note that you study, it is there. Yes, just check. The direct thing should definitely be there. It's a very direct question. Okay, and then this one. Okay, now this one I taught you all. I told you all before. If they ask this in the recent paper, yeah, okay, yes, that can be called net cash deficit also. Yes, that the one without debt repayment. True. Okay, biggest component of recurrent expenditure in Sri Lanka at present. Earlier it was something else. I told you if they ask this in 2019 or 2020 or something, your answer needs to change to interest payment. So if you look at, I have put the central bank report numbers also. So if you look at it, recurrent expenditure, you have interest payment 6.5%, salaries and wages 5.3, subsidies and transfers are 4.8, right? So capital lending is 3.3% of GDP. Okay. So what is the biggest component? It's our interest payments, which are the biggest component right now. So even in your year, it's interest. So, yeah, that is it. All right, no. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 out of 5? No. If you've got 5 out of 5 or at least 4 out of 5, you should be at a good level. Okay, so we'll correct the mistakes, move on. So we can get 4 out of 5 means from 50 or getting 40. So that's also an 80 mark. Okay, and your last paper, right? And I don't think that will take that long and we're done. The 2020 paper can be a paper that is very similar to your one. Okay, which one? Market fails to produce public goods because what? Give me an answer. Read and see. Yes, even if you have not done, I want you all to do it now. If you can do this, trust me, your paper is nothing. Because there is no demand for such goods. Because it is impossible for the producer to charge a price from the consumers. Because such products usually entail large external cost in production and generate external benefit in consumption. Their production leads to increase in income inequality. Private firms generally have a higher production cost than the public sector. Why doesn't the market economy provide public goods, things like national defense, things like street light? Why don't they do? There's another question, 31. Is it there in my thing? Okay, sorry guys. Okay, I'll come to the 31. Sorry, I always miss a question. Okay, so why don't they produce, guys? Because they can't charge a price, right? Because it's impossible to charge a price because no one is going to pay. Got it? Remember that whole story? I would have explained this before, right? So 32 is answer number 2. Okay, so there's a question that I missed. I'll put that as well. 31. Okay, an externality exists when an externality exists in a free market. Okay, which one? The equilibrium price is determined by an artificially high level. Equilibrium price is determined at an artificially low level. Market price cannot reach equilibrium. Market cannot reach equilibrium. Market equilibrium does not ensure social optimum resource allocation. The consumers of a product incur extra cost in terms of maintenance and insurance. Which one, guys? Easy one again. When there's an externality, what happens? You are either overproducing or you're either underproducing. What does that mean? That means you're not producing what? You're not producing at the, remember, positive externality is underproduced, negative externality is overproduced. What does that mean? You're not producing at, not equilibrium, guys. What's a better word? You're not producing at the social optimum level, right? You're either producing more than the social optimum level or you're producing less than the social optimum level. So which one is the answer there? Right? It's the fourth one, right? The market equilibrium does not ensure socially optimal resource allocation. So either you're overproducing or you're underproducing. So you can't say, now, guys, market will reach equilibrium, guys. Don't say that market doesn't reach equilibrium. Market reaches equilibrium where private benefit equals private cost. Marginal private benefit equals marginal private cost is the equilibrium point. That is equilibrium. And this is not a disequilibrium situation. Price is at an artificially high level or low level, you can't say. Now, if it's it depends on what externality. Now, here they are generally saying externality, guys. So some externalities, it's overpriced. Some externalities, it's underpriced. So you can't directly say that it is high level or a low level. So again, no, right? Consumer has to of a product incur extra cost in terms of maintenance. That's bullshit, no, guys. There's nothing like that. No, we never studied maintenance insurance or anything. So don't come up with new answers, guys, which no one gave me the answer, but I'm just saying, and don't come up with things, in case they've given some totally different thing that was put because they need to complete a question, right? So don't come up with things like that. That's 2020. Okay, one question done, second question done. Okay, 33. Okay, now you all should be able to give me this. I gave you 1, 2, and 3 now in a previous question. The main components of recurrent expenditure of Sri Lanka in the government. One is interest payments, we know. What do you all write? Interest payments is fine. So first one is interest payment, but all 5 are interest payments. Okay, so common sense, right? Acquisition of real assets, was it the second one? First of all, is it a recurrent expenditure? It's not a recurrent expenditure, right? So you can cut that off. First one is gone. Interest payments, salaries and wages, guys, capital transfers. Again, is it a recurrent expenditure? Not a recurrent expenditure. So cut that off as well. Interest payments, fine. Salaries and wages, fine. Current transfers to households like pensions and stuff, and current transfers to public office looks correct. Okay, we'll keep that. Interest payments, salaries and wages, fine. Amortization payments, guys. Amortization payments again is not recurrent. That is your repayment of your loan, right? That is not even capital expenditure, right? Only interest payments are taken. You don't take the repayment of a loan as a capital expenditure. So again, wrong there, right? And acquisition of financial assets, not really, right? There's no current expenditure that comes under that. Even if you know the components of current expenditure, you can get this answer, right? You don't even have to know what is the largest one. So interest payments is a recurrent expenditure, right? Which happens as recurrent means happens on a day-to-day basis, right? Salaries and wages, current transfers, and current transfers to public corporate. Guys, amortization payments are these, right? Your loan installments. right? Now, when you pay a loan, right, when you pay this thing, guys, inside amortization payment, there is a capital component and an interest component. Now, when you all pay a loan installment, right, you all realize that you pay, I don't know if you all do accounts and stuff, right? There is a capital component, the actual loan part that you are repaying, and there is an interest part, right? That is what you call this thing, right? So this entire loan installment you can consider as amortization payment. Some people might take only the capital part as amortization payment. That depends, right? So remember, this amortization payment is not a part of current expenditure. You don't even take it as expenditure in the first place. Only the interest part is taken as a expenditure. Okay. So 33 is this question 32, because I discussed that one. 32, the answer is 2. Okay. 33, so we end up with the third one. Okay, let's say there is 34. Okay, can you see the same question repeated again? A regressive income tax is one where the poor, and we have an answer. Think can give me an answer. Where the poor, they pay a lower percentage than the rich. That is a progressive, right? This is where a regressive income tax is where the poor pay a higher percentage. Remember, I explained the whole story with the 2,500 rich fellow paying and the poor fellow paying. Okay, so it's not that. We end up with answer number 4, right? Have a rich pay. Can you see same question is repeated now, right? There's nothing new. None. Okay, so if you take revenue of Sri Lanka, which one is this thing? What were the main taxes? One was excise, 2 was income, 3 was VAT, right? Okay, so now this is the 2019 paper. So if you look at the, okay, so anyway, it's the VAT and excise that goes in this thing, right? So which one is the answer, guys? This, or this? This is the main revenue. Guys, remember, excise taxes are taxed on what? It's taxed on things like this, right? Taxed on the production of cigarettes, taxed on the production of, let's say, production and consumption of alcohol, right? So that is excise. So it's a tax on production. But again, a tax on consumption, right? On consumption expenditure. So now, if you look at this, right now, for example, 3, 4, and 5 is completely out, right? That is profits, dividends, and all small part. Lottery revenue, very small part, right? From trading enterprises and stuff, those are not even kind of there sometimes. So from these two, which one is the bigger one? Right? You all realize that excise was the first one, right? So excise taxes are what? Is it a tax on income or is it a tax on production and expense? It's a tax on production expenditure, right? So VAT also the third one, right? So these two combined, right, is what they're talking about here. So taxes on production and expenditure are much more than the taxes on income. Even if you look at the first one is excise, you compare the first two, excise is much more higher, right? So to end up with that, guys, you need to remember, don't memorize things, right? You need to know what an excise tax is. You will wonder, so where is excise tax here? They will not directly say excise tax, they will say, they will give you what excise tax means. So you should be able to figure that out, right? That's 35. And is that it? Yes, and we're done. Sorry for the extra 4 minutes, but we're completely done with unit number 8 MCQs. 5 out of 5, no? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 5 MCQs. So even 4 or even 5, I think, is a good number. That means you have been learning it, you have been doing it. All right, so there can be small things that you all might be unsure of. That's perfectly fine, guys, because no one is going to get 100 out of 100. Guys, I'm just repeating once again on small things that I told you, general advice. Okay, on your end, okay, there is no matter doing 100 MCQs or 100 questions, right? All what I want you all to do is, from whatever questions that we have done, learn from it, right? Learn why is this wrong, learn why is this correct, right? Because it's not about, you know, memorizing answers for questions. It's about, you know, figuring out, okay, why you went wrong, so that you will not do the mistake again. Right now, compared to where you all were, you all would have been able to improve where you were at 2011 when it came to 2019 and 2020. I'm hoping if you have done the thing properly and you would have seen some sort of improvement. You would have seen the same question coming over and over again, right? When you see the question, now you know, this is the answer, right? So that kind of confidence needs to come in on your end, And you need to improve, because if you're at the same level as the 2011 paper, then there is no improvement. There was no point coming into this two classes that we ever did if you have not improved at least a little. So on your end, work on that, right? Go through the MCQs. Now we have done all the MCQs. Now go through all of this side. Make sure within this week itself you finish studying this unit. Don't drag it. Don't wait until let me start going through this towards the end. And also one more thing, I don't think I would have told this to you all. I would have told this to my fast track people, right? When you all do past paper MCQs or essay questions, the difficult ones, right? The ones that you all can learn something out of, highlight those MCQs and keep, right? Not easy MCQs, right? Something that you feel you can learn something, highlight it and keep. One day before your A-level exam, you need to go through those ones. Trust me, one day before your A-level exam, you don't have time to go through all 600, 700, or you have your class MCQ. So my fast track people, you'll have all the 8 mock exams, you'll have all of that. You don't have time to go through all of that, right? So you, according to your knowledge, according to what you all know, right, highlight the question number in your past paper book, guys. Take a highlighter, right, and simply highlight this question number and keep. Or maybe write the question number down somewhere and keep. That is up to you all, right? So on your end, 1 or 2 days before your A-level exam, those are the questions that you need to go through. Because some questions you all know, obvious answer is there. You don't have to read that obvious answer again. Obviously, in your paper, you will get that right, right? But these, maybe if a question was hard, if you can learn something from it, highlight it and keep. Do that for all the lessons and keep. Trust me, it's going to be beneficial. Not today, 1 or 2 days before A-levels when you're starting to panic. That is where it will start to this thing. You trust me, you can't go through around 1000 MCQs because you will not remember. Right? First few MCQs you will remember, and then while you're doing the 600, 700 MCQ, nothing is going into your head. So there is problems on that end. So if we look at past papers also, 2011 to all the way 2020, 50 MCQs each. That's around 10 to 11 papers. That's around, right? That's around how much? That's around 600 MCQs. Sorry. Yeah, 600 MCQs and all whatever model papers and all that you all do. You all will at least have around 1000 MCQs to go through, right? You can't go through one day. So highlight and keep, do that. And guys, just a reminder on the mock exam series, fast track people, right? It's starting today. Do the paper and come. If I open it to the people outside, I'll check if I can this thing, but I can't get around 50, 60 people to come in, right? But hopefully around 20 people might be able to come, because usually I know my fast track people, because the first day they might show up, right? But going forward, I know from the 100 only around 30, 40 will come to class and everyone will end up watching the recording. That's a different story. I hope that doesn't happen though. But since the first day, there is a possibility that more might show up, and I don't have a Zoom account for that much number of people. So we'll see. I might open it, but even if I open it, maximum around 10 or 20 people can come in. I'll send you all a PDF of the paper also that you all can do and give it a try. I'll let you all know about that. But apart from that, repeating, if you all are interested in joining the mock exam series, there is a few more slots only. Maximum, I'll say maximum 10, right? Okay, I'll say maximum 50. Okay, so that's 120. There's already 105. I only have a 100 participant Zoom account. Generally, not all will come. So that's the maximum amount of slots. I will not take people more than that as well, because I also feel no point. I can't control that much and it will be another mess, right? So that's it from me for today. We're done with unit number 8 MCQs. Okay. Today I already discussed the entire paper 1, the 50 MCQs. Okay. So what was I going to say? Okay, on your end, right, next Saturday, we'll start with the essay questions of unit number 8. That is question number 7 in your A-level paper. Starting from 2011, I think you all know how we do. So usually half of the essay questions we will discuss one day, the other half the other day. So I don't have to keep saying that to you all. So on your end, what I want you all to do is go through the 2011 to maybe at least 2016. If you can do everything is fine. 11 to 16, the essay questions. Do it and come. We'll discuss next Saturday morning. There's recordings of these classes. Once the unit is over, I will ideally upload it on YouTube. Okay, so unit by unit I upload. So far, unit number 7, everything is entered. A Google form for the answers, I'll send. I have not made it yet. We'll see if I can find the time to make it. I'll send you the answers. Okay. Right. That's it from me for today. I'll see you all, some of you all at night. some of you all back on Saturday morning. Okay. See you guys. Have a good weekend. See you. Bye.